So I knew I wanted to review an album today, but I really didn't know what to review. So I was looking through my record collection and I came across my Steve Winwood section. I thought, yeah, I think it's about time we talked about a Steve Winwood record on this channel. And I thought, where better to start than his first debut solo album, geniusly self-titled, Steve Winwood. So hello and yes, welcome back to another album review, guys. Now then, today we're going to go over Steve Winwood's debut self-titled solo album. So in this review we're going to do the usual. We're going to give you a bit of information on the album. We're going to go over each track individually and mark them out of 10. I'm going to show you my copy of the vinyl record. Then we're going to add up all the scores. I've given it out of 10, which will give us an overall marking for this album. And then when we're done, we're going to head over to the album ranking board, place it on there and see where it ranks compared to other albums that I've reviewed here on this channel. So anyway, this was Steve Winwood's debut solo album. It was the first album after the breakup of Traffic, which happened in 1976. This came out a year after the breakup of the band in June 1977. The album itself didn't really consist of too much material, just 6 quite long, heavy tracks. So it came out in 1977, hit number 12 in the UK, which wasn't too bad for a debut album there, pretty good. In the US, I believe it hit number 22, which isn't too bad either. And yeah, this is basically Steve Winwood. You know, he was trying to get over the breakup of Traffic really quick, move straight on to a solo album here, and show that he was still about. You know, Steve Winwood was in a lot of bands in his early career. You know, of course, Traffic, and then he was in, he done Blind Faith, of course, with Eric Clapton. So he done a lot of material with other people. So this was the first time he'd really ventured out on his own. And it's a very interesting album. There's not much on here. There's only 6 tracks. But then again, Traffic never filled their albums up too much. Previous bands that he'd been in, like Blind Faith, didn't fill their albums up with too much. So just because there's a short amount of songs on here doesn't mean it's going to be a bad album. However, this album is a very mixed bag for me, I'll say off the start. And do I think it's Steve Winwood's best album? Definitely not. It could actually be my least favourite Steve Winwood album, if I'm being honest. But anyway, let's get started. Let's crack down with the tracks. So then the opening track is called Hold On, which is a very safe opening song. This is kind of like what I feel was probably the commercial track, the one which people probably would have gone to. I'm not sure which one was released as the single here, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was this track. Has a very chilled out kind of vibe to it. The lyrics are very simple, just about him, and how a woman should love him, basically. Good vocals on top. The song has some amazing keyboard work in it. It has this one solo in it which really grabs you. It is fantastic. Steve Winwood, easily one of the best keyboard piano players out there. And, you know, you can really hear it on a track like this. You know, he really shines here. However, the song itself just generally doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't do too much. It's a good song. It's enjoyable. I like it. But really, the song itself, it's a little bit weak. I can't lie. I'm going to give this track a 6 out of 10. It's good, but not great. The next track up is called Time Is Running Out. And this is the first and one of them really long songs. And really, all of the other tracks on here are a lot longer than the opening track, and it's more of an upbeat sound to it, which is good, you know, kind of livens up the album a bit. But the main attraction with this one, again, is the keyboard work. It sounds great. However, lyrics, again, not at its best. The vocals, this is probably his worst vocal performance on the album. And the song is just a bit of a bore after a while. It's, you know, it's like a 6-minute long track, and after the first couple minutes, you're like, okay, this is pretty good. It's like, let's change it, let's vibe it up a bit, let's give it something different, let's put a bit more energy into it. Does it do any of that? No, not at all. It kind of goes at the same pace, it doesn't change, it's repeat, 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 and you want a bit more than that in a song. I don't dislike the song because it is still fun to listen to, but I don't really find it too appealing. So I am just going to give this track a solid 5 out of 10. Then we're already rounding up side 1. This might be the quickest review I've ever done. We're on Midland Maniac, sorry. A nice, slow start to the song, I guess. It's kind of, I like how it starts. Yeah, that's definitely how I go. But the vocals are better, I'll say that much. Has a very cool keyboard solo in it again. Again, it's just the main attraction, his keyboard solos. Has a fun beat to it, but again, it is the exact same problem as this is running, time is running out. It's a fun song. I like it for the first couple minutes. It's good. It's energetic. It's one that you're tapping your toes to, and you're like, yeah, this is going to be good. Again, it does the same thing. It just doesn't change. It goes at one pace. It doesn't get better. It doesn't really get worse. It just becomes a bore. It's like he gives you a good sound. It sounds good. You like it. But then he kind of bores you with it. And unfortunately, I just feel exactly the same as time is running out in this track. So I'm just going to give this one a 5 as well. So side 1, not great. However, side 2 is a little bit better. So side 2, we move on to a track called Vacant Chair, which is a bit more of an upbeat song, and it has great vocals in it. Probably his best vocal performance on the album, I'd say. Has a great guitar solo in it, so, hey, I mean, we're not just getting keyboard solos, and there's nothing wrong with that. The keyboard solos sound great, but it's nice that he's putting a bit more variety in there. Instead of having a keyboard solo in every single track, we get a keyboard solo in a couple, then we get a guitar solo in another couple, so definitely gives the album itself overall a bit more characteristic to it. So the guitar solo I really loved. That was great. Goes on a bit too long again, but he keeps this one interesting. He will pile more and more synthesizers on top. He will bring in more instruments, give other instruments moments to shine, where he'll come back to keyboards and he'll go to guitar. So this song kind of gets the flow a bit more, you know, it's a bit more interesting. And I like it. Good lyrics, good vocals, the song is quite catchy. Great song. I really do like this one. I am going to give this track a 7 out of 10. Then we move on to a track called Luxin, which just pulls side 2 down completely again. This track is not very good. Not very good at all. It's a bit more of a fun, upbeat song at the start, I guess. Has a very cool funky keyboard opening is the way I'd go to describe that one. Very, very interesting. The lyrics are pretty average, I'd say. The lyrics, again, you know, pretty simple, not really much to them. The song kind of loses itself a bit, I think. It's very interesting at the end, but overall it's a very disappointing song because it sounds like it's going to be fun at the start. Then it goes into the same old kind of feel. The end has a very interesting finish to it, but, you know, the start is what, like 15 seconds long? The end is about 15 seconds long. Everything in the middle is just what we've heard before on this album, really. And it's almost like we're almost tricked at the start to think, oh, this is going to be different. This is going to be really fun. It wasn't. So this track here I am going to give a 4 out of 10 to. It was a very disappointing song. I think if you're going to give us a very cool, funky intro like that, you've got to kind of live up to what you're trying to tell us at the start of it, and unfortunately, he didn't on this song. But anyway, we end on what is probably my favourite track on the album. Let Me Make Something in Your Life, which is a nice ballad song, which we need, because all the other 5 songs almost sound identical. We need something to change the album up a bit, and this one does it. This goes down to a nice slow Steve Winwood on piano. Really nice. Really like it. It's just got great vocals. I love the lyrics. I love how the instruments, it starts off with just basically Steve on the piano. Sounds great. I love it. And then more instruments come in and the song builds and builds and builds. And it just becomes a lot more than what we started with, which is what all the other tracks kind of failed at doing. So it's a really great song. Has a great guitar solo in it too. Again, not just keyboards here. We've gone with a guitar solo, which is great. Has some good bass work in the background I also managed to pick up. So I like this song a lot. I'm going to give this one a 7 out of 10 too. So anyway, wow, look at that. 10 minutes in and we've already done all the tracks. I had a feeling this would be a pretty quick review, to be honest. And yeah, there's not really too much information about this album. It was a very quick, easygoing album. Steve, I think, was just like, okay, traffic's done. Okay, I need to put a new solo album out. Gonna write some really quick lyrics, blah, blah, blah. Done. Album out, released, boom. That was it. Very quick release. There's not much to it. It's a very simple album. There's not many tracks, so I'm not surprised this is going to be one of my quickest reviews. But anyway, here we go. So we are going to mark the artwork, of course, out of 10 as well. And it's not a gatefold, pretty simple cover here. And I have a very nice pressing of this. This is an original British one. And it's in shrink. Look at that. I mean, not many British records were put in shrink, especially in the 70s. So to have an original one still in shrink is actually pretty amazing. So yeah, whoop, nearly dropped it. Anyway, the artwork itself, I like the cover a lot, I do. I like the fact that they've given us an inner sleeve and it's not just plain white. Then they use the same picture on the back. Bit plain, really, to be honest. I give the artwork a 6. It's above an average. It's got to be above a 5, but I can't really go higher than a 6. So anyway, yeah, Steve Winwood. I can't believe how quick this review's gone, to be honest. But yeah, just 6 tracks. Very mixed bag of an album. I like side 2 more, except I'm just not a fan on Lux in, really. So, the A side is pretty average, I'd say. You know, they were a 6, a 5, and a 5. Pretty average. I like it. It's not bad. It's not good. It's just in the middle. Side 2, like the opening track, like the closing track a lot. The middle one, though. Very mixed bag. But anyway, I added up all 7 scores, so all 6 tracks and then the artwork score. That gave me a total number, and then I divided it by 7, as that's the amount of scores I've given. So Steve Winwood is going to get a 5.7 out of 10. So now what we're going to do is we're going to head over to the album ranking board, place it on there and see where it ranks. So yes, here we are, back over to the album ranking board, of course, and here we go. Here is Steve Winwood there on a 5.7, and actually we already have an album on here at a 5.7. Phil Collins Face Value, so it is tied with that. And I'm going to put it directly opposite, as close as I can. I'm going to put it right there in the middle. Yeah, see if I can get it on. There we go. There it is. Steve Winwood there on a 5.7. Let me bring the camera over and you guys can see kind of what beat it and what it has beaten out. It really hasn't beaten out too much, to be honest. But anyway, let me pop the camera back out. There we go. So it has beaten out, tied with Phil Collins Face Value. Not too bad. It has beaten out the Electric Light Orchestra's debut album, which got a 5.5. The Who's Face Dances, which got a 4.7. And right down here, John Lennon and Yoko Ono's Sometime in New York City, which got 3.6. However, I'll quickly shout out the ones which beat it. George Harrison's 33 1/3. Phil Collins' Hello I Must Began. Paul McCartney's debut album. Lindsey Buckingham, Go Insane. John Lennon, Yoko Ono, Double Fantasy. Phil Collins, Peter Gabriel even, sorry. Peter Gabriel's debut album, Car. Mud Crutch's Mud Crutch 2. Eric Clapton, I Still Do. Mud Crutch, Paul McCartney's Ram. Eric Clapton's Back Home. And Derek and the Dominoes, Layla, and Other Assorted Love Songs. So anyway, guys, that is it for this review. Very quick one there. I know, very strange for me. Maybe when we come back and do Steve Winwood's second album, eventually, I won't do that one anytime soon, but I kind of wanted to start my Steve Winwood series of reviews, because I like him a lot. I think he's fantastic. He definitely goes on to say better things, to do better things, I'll say that. So yeah, but of course, you have to start from the beginning if you're going to do a series like this. So yeah, we've started from the beginning. Not a great start, but it gets a lot better, which is the good thing. So we can look forward to saying a lot more positive things about Steve Winwood in future reviews. But anyway, that is it for this review, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Please hit the subscribe button, like the video, and leave a message. And I'll see you guys next time.